hide all these videos and make them private.
Is it gonna be for OnlyFans?
Yeah, basically. Are we live?
Yeah, man.
Hello. After a long hiatus, we are back.
Exactly a week.
Where's Stewie socks? There we go. Primark's finest. Do you see that? Okay. Alrighty. How are you?
All good in the hood.
How has the week been?
Perfect.
It looks really weird.
Immaculate.
Like we're like
that. It
Right?
has been a immaculate week.
Yes. How
Perfection.
Perfection.
Yes.
Is it me or is the camera like really nice today?
I don't know. It is kind of different, isn't it?
It is, right? So,
How was your week?
hang on, let me just pour the whiskey.
Whiskey.
Sorry, with the vodka. Vodka with lime. You know, I keep it on me. Kind of, look at that.
That'd be pretty rockstar if we went through that much vodka every day.
I bet you'd get through that much beer every day. Can we try it one day, please? Okay, ching ching. Ching ching, motherfucker.
Cheers.
Cheers. So is that coffee that you're drinking?
Mm-hmm. Iced coffee.
Okay, so how has the week been for you overall? Any highlights?
Nothing too exciting, really. A little, little here and there, little ideas and stuff, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty calm overall.
Yeah.
Had some exciting news from the family, but
That's for his OnlyFans. It's
that's for the
link below.
the Rensetu Club fan club.
Okay.
The Rensetuers.
Fair enough. This week for me has been, I don't know. I had a lot of personal learning curves, which obviously when you go into when you try to grow yourself personally, something that you told me, we had that talk, was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago? You said to me the hardest thing is when you are trying to improve yourself, and sometimes you're improving yourself in an aspect which is not related to work. But what that translates into is you improving in your work, because you as an entity are three-dimensional and you can bring that new energy into your work.
Yeah, man.
So that was
a chain reaction.
Yes, and that was something, because I always used to kind of compartmentalize my life in a way that, okay, I do know working out does help your work. Sleeping enough or being healthy helps your work. I never really thought my personal relationships with people would affect my work. But now I've actually realized that it does. So it's very, very important, I feel, especially for people who are very, not reward driven, but very metric driven, to sometimes, sometimes not every metric can be measured. And some of those key metrics sometimes are the ones that you should focus on as well,
Yeah, man, I agree. It's I don't know. It's the productivity, self-improvement, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Vibes are pretty complicated, and everyone's different.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I think if you're working on things like that about yourself, in general, you'll do better overall, right?
I feel like no matter what, I feel like one of the key skills as I've gotten older, and I've noticed about people who actually do well, now that's well in your personal life, in your work life, any kind of aspect of your life, right? Is that they are very open to criticism,
Mm-hmm.
and their ego is devoid. So there's a separation between the thing and their ego, and they're always, there's a feedback loop. And they're always seeking to improve. So I always say this about the country like Singapore. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why it's done so well is that it's always seeking to improve itself, but it never relaxes. It's like Madonna keeps on reinventing itself. Yeah.
Amen to that, man.
Ching ching.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
That's some strong coffee.
Yeah. Good stuff. The good stuff. So yeah, man, I don't know. I think it's really, if you're into that, it's living life. You don't have to take everything that seriously, right? You don't have to be after, improvement and everything like 24/7 for everything that you do. But I mean, if you're into that, I think, like expanding your, so it's called there's a guy called Charlie Munger, right? The like a close friend
I
of
think I
Bill
look
Gates.
good. I think I look good today. Should we move on to Diiigg? At least I'm honest about it. Shit, the other way around. Yeah. Okay. How do you? Ooh, new case. Who this? Look at that. Does that work? Right. You gotta get closer. Do I look fat? I'm asking you. Can you tell me?
No, you don't.
Okay, liar. Okay. I think I look cute. Oh, and then I can't say it because we're on live. Sorry. Okay, there we go. As we were saying, what were we saying?
So yeah, so it's like called a lattice of knowledge, right? So the idea is that you have like a bunch of different things that you work on and learn about, right? And they're, some of them are like orthogonal to each other, some of them are parallel, and like, like it's may not be like learning to fish, right?
Yeah.
And maybe, will probably help you in like in some business aspect, some learnings from that, or like things like that, right?
Yo, Johnny Homeless, do you want to finally come onto our podcast? You've been missing for you've gone off now. Okay. You've been missing for how many weeks? Okay, well, he's gone. The moment I said that, boom. Okay, that's what happens when you try to get really cool guests. We're not cool enough, but okay, we continue. Yep.
So yeah, so that's the idea, right? So you learn a bunch of things, and that may not be that necessarily that connected to the thing that you're trying to prove yourself around.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently they all help you out in different ways, right? And just like being in a good vibe in general is like pretty helpful, right? But
don't you think your vibe attracts your tribe?
What do you mean?
Energy, right? So we're kind of like stirring away from what we usually talk about, which is usually very tech and current affairs, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like this is actually quite important because especially when we look at productivity in the workplace, and we look at so much like tech stuff that we have now, which is basically measuring customer satisfaction. What is that? That's basically happiness. So we have a lot of metrics to measure happiness. We have a lot of metrics to measure how productive we are. So I feel that it's kind of like tied in with self-help in a way, but we never really link it to self-help.
Yeah.
We're just so focused on the metrics.
Yeah.
And I feel that if we had a bit more holistic approach to the whole thing, a lot of people would perhaps benefit more. Yeah. And organizations, I feel, would benefit more if they sold it the way you sold it to me. That, customer satisfaction or, performance or whatever. And then you just tie it in with, you have to ensure that all aspects of your life are equally as good. You can't be super lacking in one aspect.
Yeah. You can't have like super unhappy employees and have a great customer experience, right? That's impossible because the employees are just going to hate their lives and make your customers miserable, right? So you need to fix all of that, right?
So that's what's happening when I call some call centers and they yell at me.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
They don't take care of them. They're people. I think like the quintessential example is like what's his name? Starbucks, right? So they like take that really seriously. Although it's a semi skillless job. Like right.
But they do try to skill the baristas really
Yeah.
well. I know there's when you go into Starbucks,
Yeah.
it's a 3-month program.
Yeah.
And they really like show you all the coffee and everything, and they're really into nurturing, talent. So
that's exactly my point. They take the training and all that quite seriously, and generally, like compared to most other companies, the pays are good, the perks are good, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's and that pays off. So
It does.
Yeah.
And I do feel that, especially during COVID. So I feel like when you look at employee perks or the structuring of employees and how you deal with them, traditionally pre-COVID in like Southeast Asian countries or like less developed countries, they would always have the infrastructure. Example, like I know this company in Thailand, they have like workers, but they would actually have dorms for the workers in near the city, because a lot of these people come from the villages, and the kind of benefits these people would want, or people in developing countries want. They want like companies to provide, like, for example, free education or like medical bills, things like that. They don't really care about things such as work related. They think it's more lifestyle related. And now as COVID has come in, now as COVID has come in, that's coming into the Western world. Like it's a lot more lifestyle related, right? The companies need to provide a lifestyle ecosystem almost for all the people that are working in the firm. Example, like, flexible working, healthcare to a certain degree, right? What else do we have? They have to look more into work-life balance and specific situations as well.
Yeah. I mean, it gets really tough with the remote work stuff as well. I mean, you need to make sure that people are working in like productive spaces. They don't have kids running around the house while they're trying to work, or like things like that. It's like quite challenging for a lot of companies.
Initially, it was very, very challenging for a lot of companies. I remember, and they would have like these things with the employer would say, like, keep your Zoom on.
keep your
camera on, and then there's all the whole thing about privacy as well.
Yeah.
But I do feel like now they're coming to a hybrid model. A lot of these companies are coming with a hybrid model where either you work on site for a bit, like once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever, and then the rest is like So I think COVID has definitely like furthered that, and I feel if played right, obviously this is not for everybody, but if played right, it enhances your entire life as a 360, So work and life kind of like become one. And we used to always compartmentalize our lives. So I like how it's more holistic in a way. COVID's made life more holistic. Does that make sense?
I guess so. But I mean, there's the opposite flip side to that, right? So, it gets more blurred, and it gets more difficult to, make sure that you can, switch off at the right times, and, give yourself enough time to, enjoy life, without, side of working. So, it's a challenge either ways, but I don't know. I think surprisingly, the world is doing pretty well, right? Given the circumstance. I mean, if you told me that we'd be fine doing like lockdowns all the time and people working from home, I'd say, I'd say it'd be like, impossible for this to happen, right? So, but yeah, kudos to the human beings, man. We're
very adaptable. We're very adaptable beings, and we've come this far. How many years of thousands of years of evolution. So I think we always underestimate ourselves. As beings, basically. We always underestimate ourselves. We have to remember that we've gone through so much as the human race.
Think about so this is like a pandemic, right? Think about like the nasty,
plague.
Like things like that, right? And just the ones that we know are just like, I don't know, a few hundred years old, right? Or like, I don't know, maximum 1,000 years old,
Mhm.
but we've been around for millions of years, right? So like think about the crazy viruses that are, ancestors, went through and like,
And the coping
and they
mechanisms
all,
that we probably have,
yeah,
right?
and we won all in each and every one of them, right? We're still here, right? So I think it's interesting, to think about that.
We don't give ourselves enough credibility, I feel.
Yeah.
And I feel the whole thing is one of the key things of humans, we're not solitary beings, right?
Yeah.
So we have little ecosystems that we make for support. And it's amazing that during the pandemic, when we were very isolated, how we've been able to, reach out and make those ecosystems. A lot of us, majority, okay, maybe not as successfully as others, but a lot of us have been able to make some kind of ecosystem so we don't end up dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like one of the
Even
superpowers
though I do
humans,
know
right?
that suicide rates and mental illness rates have increased dramatically,
Yeah.
but that's expected, right? You have
Yeah,
to
of
think, but
course.
you think overall, it wasn't a big F.
Yeah.
Like we've been able to adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's pretty cool when you think about it. And yeah, I think we'll figure it out. I don't know, the latest news about like the India and other some Latin American countries.
Was it Latin America as well?
Yeah, I mean some of them are like having big problems with the latest situation, but
It's a new wave.
yeah, similarly in Turkey as well right now. So.
Oh, Turkey's got a new wave?
Yeah.
The only one I'm hearing is about India and its crazy oxygen issues.
Yeah, I think it's just like so it's a complicated issue with the vaccines, right?
I have heard. Well, okay. So before we go into that, I have heard that there is a immune escape. So immune escape theory is basically when one person basically, because so many people are vaccinated, so the vaccine, the bug becomes even stronger, and it attacks. It becomes even stronger, basically. So that's an immune escape theory by people who actually study immunology.
So like the idea behind that is like you kill off the weak ones and the strong variations of the virus is left, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't necessarily make the existing ones stronger. It just makes the weak ones dead, right? So it's a way to look at this situation, and that's in a way it's true, but like it does kill off the weaker ones, like weak ones meaning that
the weak virus.
Not
the weak mutations.
Weak doesn't mean that it's less worse for humans. It just means that it's less capable of
spreading.
No, like it just means the vaccines are less effective, like more effective for them, right? So I mean, it's a way to look at it, but I don't think it's a problem. So I mean, vaccines generally really help with like you have like polio and stuff, right?
But that was never an RNA vaccine.
It's the same.
But RNA is very different from the traditional vaccine.
The output, like the thing that the vaccine does in your body is the same. The way it does it is different.
Yeah, but that is quite okay. Disclaimer, I don't know. I am not a medical doctor. The only thing I've ever done was high school biology. What about you? What's your credentials here?
Yeah.
High school biology as well? Okay, there we go. So we know nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't, but I did speak to my dad who knows a bit more in chemistry and stuff. So based on that, based on the papers that I have read from these like doctors and what's happening in India, they're saying that basically the virus has become stronger because the resistance or the resistance basically, somehow is mutated to become stronger now due to the vaccine.
Yeah, well, I think stronger is like a kind of a
more. It's killing more people.
Well, yeah, so you're always going to have variations of it that are more contagious, right?
Okay.
But if you didn't have a vaccine, you'd still have that mutation. So it doesn't affect the vaccine. Doesn't play a role in that. It's not already going to mutate, right? They mutate all the time.
Okay.
So it's always good to have vaccines. I mean, vaccines worked in the past,
But it's never been developed so quickly.
Yeah.
And then there's always like a backlash. Example is there are some vaccines that have been developed and people have taken it, and there's a high rate of autism, right, with some vaccines.
Vaccines called autism?
No, yes. Yeah. Birth defects, autism. There are some vaccines that do.
That is pretty fringe.
No. If you actually
conspiracy theory.
No, if you actually said no. There are some if you go to different countries, right? They have there's some countries that actually don't believe in that vaccinating your child that much.
Yeah.
With that many vaccines, right?
Yeah.
Like Norway, not that many vaccines. Only the basic ones, I guess. And there are vaccines that do cause certain things in people. Like my dad refused to vaccinate us for BCG. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, my dad refused. He was like, hell no. Yeah.
What was the reasoning behind it?
I don't know. I can't remember what he was like. He was like, I can't remember, because when you vaccinated it, I think you would get like a giant blister, and my dad was like, obviously that's not normal. So I can't.
Well, it's an immune response.
Yes, I know.
That's why you get a blister.
Out of all the things in the world, like how many vaccines have you had and you had a giant blister? I can't remember what it was exactly. He was like,
there are ones.
Pardon?
Yeah, there are ones like.
Well, I can't remember what he said, but he was like, no.
They give you a fever. Sometimes you have a blister.
What kind of vaccines have you been vaccinated with?
It's an immune response. Your body does that.
Yeah, I know that. But another very controversial one was the HPV vaccine for herpes.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying that affects your fertility. So they started giving out in the UK. They started giving it out to young girls and everything to prevent HPV, and then they realized, actually, somehow you can't prevent it or something, or everybody has it dormant in them. HPV anyway. It's only in some people that it shows, and that vaccine was affecting their fertility. So every few years you have these like vaccines that are for like some, not like a fringe, almost like not fringe, but not a global issue.
I think the way to look at it is like, I'm not saying like people are free to decide on their own, But
your
what
audience,
I'm saying,
you hear, there's two people. What the fuck? Who is that person? Who are you? Oh, you logged out. I see you. That is creepy.
The idea behind it is like so it's a trade-off, right? You risk, you risk some things, right? A bad reaction to a vaccine, or like having bad immune response.
A bad reaction or bad immune responses are right, but when it alters certain things that you only find out years later, because there's no long-term studies on this.
Yeah, but it's a trade-off, right?
But do you want to be a guinea pig?
Would you would like to die? It's like that's the trade-off you're doing, right? It is. Though.
You'd make a great doctor.
So I mean that, and I'm not saying people should, make that choice. I'm just saying, that's the options you have in most cases. You're gonna have millions of people die, or you're gonna have a few people that die. So.
Well, I don't know about that, but I know one thing which is really, really weird.
Are they going to be like infertile a bit? Maybe, but they're not going to die.
Hang on, one issue. No, of the HPV virus.
I don't know. But
no, I know for COVID.
That's the idea.
For the HPV virus, there's no death. It's literally herpes. That's all you get.
Yeah, but like that's in general. Yeah. That's the thinking behind.
But the flu vaccine, the flu prior to COVID was really killing a lot of people. And they kept on pushing the flu vaccine in the UK. And the flu vaccine was not even that useful or that competent. Because for some people, maybe it would have been, but I don't know, to be honest.
I know some people that used to take like the newest
flu vaccine.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah.
Just because they were like, they felt that you just get sick every year, so they were.
But don't you think? Yes, I get that. But don't you think you not being sick, right, and you having this vaccine is important for your body to be sick, right? Because then you can like develop immune responses and your body becomes more hardy. The moment you start to take all these vaccines, your body's not going to be hardy. It's not going to generate the skills it needs to thrive out there. It's like those people who sanitize everything, right? If you don't have any bad bacteria around you and you're living in a very sterile environment, guess what happens to your body? Your body actually degenerates.
So it's like I say, it's a trade-off. If you're like an old person.
Okay, studio audience is eating yummy food. So delicious. That smells so good. What is that?
She says with a steak sat in front of her.
What is that?
Fucking pot noodle, essentially.
Wait, what is that?
Meat grown.
Is it seafood? Can I read it? Can I have some? And I'll share my steak. Oh my god, it smells so good.
It's probably got a lot of MSG in it.
It smells so good.
So yeah, that's my opinion on the matter.
I love how we're giving opinions even though we don't know anything, literally.
Well, I like to think I know.
Medically, we're not trained professionals. Sorry, does that have any seafood in it?
It's got oyster in it.
Bullshit.
Oysters.
Let me see.
No. But you can see after I've eaten.
Excuse me, I just want to buy it.
Yeah, that's cool. It's got oyster in it. You can read it afterwards. I haven't eaten it for a long time. I'd like to sit and eat my dinner.
Rude studio audience. You can have this.
Not told off by the studio.
Fuck off. You can have this if you want. It smells so good.
It's got oyster in it.
Oh, okay. What the hell, man? I thought oyster was expensive. Genetically modified. Yeah.
Yeah. What else is the hot new conspiracy theories out there?
I haven't been reading much, but I do know that our studio audience is really, really into it. I mean, every night before he goes to bed, he puts the tinfoil hat on.
You gotta, you gotta shield yourself from those
radiations.
Mind control waves, man.
I actually haven't even
Bill
read.
Gates?
No, I actually haven't read anything, to be honest. Yeah. Instagram's making it very hard.
The meat conspiracy thing was quite nice. That
Which
was
one?
one of the conspiracy theories that I'm actually believing.
Which one?
The one that says like actually meat isn't that bad for the world.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to remember most of these studies or whatever, that when the journalists who are reading it don't know shit, the consumers that are consuming this knowledge, they don't know shit. So they don't have the capacity to really critically understand the research and know if it's true or false. And then you have so many different camps of scientists with different methods, with different schools of thought that are doing different research. So on any day, if you research is broccoli good or bad for you, you'll find roughly the equal amount of articles, right, from great universities, great professors saying it's good, and the others on the flip side saying it's bad.
I think like fundamental things like greenhouse gas emissions, right? That's
could we really?
Right?
I mean, look at this, right? A few hundred years ago, tobacco was amazing.
Look, like for example,
smoking was a way to get rid of the flu.
Yeah, but like the question if like are greenhouse gases bad for the planet? That's a different subject. But like measuring this sort of thing and all that, I think is quite simplistic, right? Quite straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think you can trust the science on things like that. But
I mean, I think when we
things like is broccoli good for you? Yeah, that might be a bit more difficult.
I think what people forget is, again, the whole 360. We become so myopic with like certain things. We need to look at the 360 picture.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing. Yes, greenhouse gases are bad. So then eating beef is bad because blah blah blah. But then what else could you do? So the other thing is that super processed meat, which is, all the factories, all the energy, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So we don't have a 360, a wholesome view of everything. And we just have these like labels like, oh yeah, greenhouse gases are bad. Therefore eating meat is bad because cows produce this much methane and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. We never look at, okay, so if we don't eat meat and we look at the alternatives, mm-hmm. how much worse off is it? So I think the whole problem that we're having at the moment with science and research, we don't really look at the whole picture. it's still very myopic and very focused on one area and not the interrelation with everything, with the whole ecosystem as a world or the planet, because we don't function as a singular part, no matter where we are, right? Our body functions as an ecosystem, right? So example, you can't just look at fat and cholesterol, butter and cholesterol. You have to look at literally everything, the endocrine system, right? The cardiovascular system, all the other systems that you have, but nobody really does that. And we're trying to do that with medicine now, and they're going through naturopaths. So it's more holistic, but there's not enough.
What's a naturopath?
So it's basically a doctor, a medical doctor that has, who treats the issue, but in a 360 way, to look at the ecosystem. So if you come and say that I've got ABC, right, or I have an autoimmune disease, they will look at they won't only do the medical tests and the blood results and everything, the blood work. They would also look into your
chakras and everything.
No, stress levels from the cortisol that they mention, from the measure. So there's stuff they can measure, but then they would see, okay, if I give you this medication or this medication, because there's no medication that you can actually take to reduce cortisol, because it's a response, it's a stress hormone, right? The stress hormone, which is basically a flight or fright response, which is triggered. So you can't stop that because you need that to live. But then how do you stop that? So there's nothing science can do to reduce that. So then you look at natural medicine, indigenous medicine, like traditional Chinese medicine. There are a bunch of those things, right? And then you look into sound therapy, into color therapy, into counseling, into yoga. So all those kind of things. And then they do measure it though with science. So it's a mix between holistic health and things that you'll find in like holistic health therapy shops and everything, with food as medicine. So what a lot of these indigenous cultures have traditionally used, but you pair it with modern science. So you can actually see, okay, now the blood levels are increasing, are getting better. So it's more measurable, but it's more wholesome in 360. Because a lot of times what's happening now, especially that we have all these medications that do work, but because, example, if you take a medication to fix your depression, what is the reaction of taking whatever supplement or whatever like drug you're taking on the rest of your body?
Yeah.
And people are realizing that there's actually a lot of drawbacks. And then those drawbacks lead to other issues. And if you depend on a pill for the rest of your life, that means actually you're not being healed, you're not being fixed, the drug is covering up the issue.
Yeah.
So naturopath.
But some problems you can't heal, right?
Well, you can reduce it, but these medicines don't really reduce the core issues. Yeah. So example, like when you have inflammation in your body, right? Arthritis, any autoimmune response is basically inflammation. Even I think cancer is inflammation. So medicine, what it does, it blocks your brain from sending out the little things that, cause inflammation, the white blood cells. But that is not right, because your body is sending out those white blood cells because there is an issue with your body. So why don't you actually try to stop the issue and just not stop the army? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
So that's what basically naturopathic medicine is doing. It's more holistic.
Yeah.
So it goes with mental, physical, emotional, psychiatric, all the different aspects of it.
Sounds interesting.
No, it is very, very interesting, and it's a growing field. And I feel like what they have done for that, they should be doing for other aspects of, science as well, like things such as greenhouse gases or whatever you're trying to do, whatever public health, or even for workplaces, right? When we say that, we want more for work-life balance, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. Remember, I said the whole 360 ecosystem that your employer must provide for you. Right, so I feel that conversation could learn a lot from what they've done in the naturopathic and medical world.
Well, I don't know, man. I guess it's worth giving it a shot.
Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling like that?
I don't know. You know me. I'm not that into that sort of thing, but I don't know. If it works for people, it works for people.
It's working for a lot of people, because autoimmune disorder, medically, there's not much they can do until it's too late. So a lot of people are seeking refuge in this. And that's why like health food supplements and everything, it's a growing business. It's like booming. And that's the reason why, because people realize, I think in the 90s, we were popping pills, right? We were like taking all these like vitamins, supplements, And now if you go average person, affluent person, I would say, right? Because we will look at the whole world holistically. They're really into like, low carb, intermittent fasting, working out. And they know all this stuff. So it's amazing like how our view towards health is actually changing. It's actually reverting back to a lot of the, I would say, indigenous beliefs that we used to have. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the fasting thing is quite interesting for me.
Why?
It's like there's like you say, it's quite well established that it's quite, if you do it right, it's quite good for you, and you do have that in certain religions and certain.
It's crazy,
things.
right?
It's like an old wisdom kind of, like ancient wisdom kind of thing, right? It's weird. It's funny that it's popping up right now.
And what's even more crazy is like when you have things like ancient, if you look at ancient cuisine, a lot of cuisine, they put actually onion and garlic and tomato sauce, and then they cook it, right? And that's the basis of your food. For a lot of cuisines. You got Italian, like, right? Yes. And you wonder why. Do you know why? Aliens, which is basically onions and garlic, the family that they come from, increases the bioavailability of all the other food that you're going to ingest. Yeah, and when you cook tomatoes, what it actually does is I can't pronounce the word, it's called lycopene and something else, and that is best absorbed in your body when it's like cooked. That and carrot, they're best, the nutrients are best absorbed when it's cooked. And you can't just eat, like, with pills, the problem with pills, what people are learning right now. You can't just have vitamin C and this and this and this. No, the natural combinations that we find in natural food increases the bioavailability of the food. There's one thing of taking the supplement or taking the mineral, and the other thing is your body actually using it in the correct way. And it can only be used in the correct way when it's paired with the right kind of chemicals, temperature, and the right process. And that's provided in nature.
Also, like a question of like, did we evolve just because we, the chicken and egg problem, right? It's like, did we, just discover onions and they were like good for us, or we just had onions laying around and we just kept eating them and our bodies evolved to like.
Well, do you think innate? That's an interesting question, because if you look at like animals, like this guy, right? He innately knows what is good for him and what he can and cannot eat. And it's the same way. Nobody taught him, right? Because he never had a mother or father. But like, if you look at indigenous people, they've actually been taught by their elders what you can eat, what you can't eat, how to get water, how to do things. So it's really interesting. Like, where did we get
like the baby reflexes? Where like the grip reflex.
Yeah. So is it innate or is it something that we've learned? And that's interesting. But I don't think.
I think it's because like the evolutionary timeline is just like so crazily long, that it's even impossible to like think about it, So a bunch of things happen, in that time frame where it's impossible to know, but we've gotten some things from that, and I think a general idea there is just to stick to what people have been doing for forever in general, and you'll be fine.
But the funny thing is,
it's like smoking, right? So like imagine the amount of smoke inhaled by our ancestors that lit a fire every freaking night,
But you do know smoking has been around for a very long time. People,
but like the amount of smoke you inhale, throughout the millennia as like humans, it's like extremely high, So it's. I'm not saying smoking is good for you, but I'm just saying it's not a foreign thing to the body,
I would also think that how many indigenous people actually do smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just an interesting thought.
Very interesting. In other news, I have seen that Zara is spreading its wings. I want to see what your take on this is. They have gone into pet apparel and stationery. Zara.
Why?
I'm asking you. What do you think? Obviously, we do know it's a growing market and people are working from home and blah, blah, but for them to pivot into that, I guess, it makes so much sense. People are not buying clothes anymore, right? Because most of us are like at home most of the time. So I know that loungewear has basically, gone blown up like crazy because people want to like dress nice at home. I mean, if you're not going to go anywhere, you might as well, So I know Skims is doing very well from Kim Kardashian. And I think pet apparel, that's interesting. I guess people are spending on their pets because a lot of people are not having kids or having kids later in life and their pet is their kid, basically. But stationery.
That's an interesting point, actually. I wonder if like the pet ownership rates have gone up.
Yes, they
during the
have.
pandemic.
Yes, they have.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like
especially dogs.
significantly?
Yeah, dogs. There was a time when lockdown
I think
happened.
my mom got a dog.
Yeah, people don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
And I think for me, when I was completely alone during lockdown, that 1 month that was zero contact with the outside world, one thing that let me kept me sane was him.
Woogsy.
Yeah, Woogsy.
Does Zara have
Hamster clothes?
hamster clothes?
No, Woogsy.
You gotta write to the
complaint?
designers, man.
Official complaint?
Dude, don't leave out Woogsy.
Yeah, what's your take on dogs and clothes? I think if the dog enjoys it, then go ahead. But if your dog does not like it, I think nah.
They get used to it. Generally, no dog really likes anything that you like put on them.
Well, I mean, some dogs have personalities. You do know that, right? Like this guy hates cameras on his face. He does not like cameras.
I mean, in my experience with dogs, I mean, almost all of them hate it, but like they get used to it and they're fine with it.
But do they enjoy it?
Because I think they're quite indifferent about it. Like after they're used to it.
In my experience, like animals they're just like humans. Like this guy, he prefers some music. He doesn't prefer other kinds of music. He prefers certain things. My friend's dog likes to pose for the camera all the time. So I think animals do have personalities as well.
Yeah.
And we lost our only audience. Oh my God! There were 2 people watching this. Shit.
Fail.
Fuck. Who else? Okay, it gives me anxiety. Who are you? Tell me. Wait, who the fuck is it?
Should we call it a night?
Yeah. Chin chin. Thanks for those studio audience for coming in.
And
he's silent. He's mute today.
Episode the Diiigg is over.
Whoever you are, can you please tell me who you are? I hate having. Can we check?
Can we get a F in chat, please?
I hate having people view shit. What the fuck? There are 2 people. It gives me anxiety.